What's up, Steelers Nation? Before we dive in, don't forget, this team is doing everything in its power to get better, to compete, and to bring those winning results back to Pittsburgh. That's what we're all about: tradition, toughness, and taking that next step. So if you're excited about the direction the Steelers are headed, and you're curious about what's going on with Aaron Rodgers, Mason Rudolph, and some brutal national predictions, go ahead and smash that like button, and if you're new here, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single update. All right, let's get into it, because things just got even more interesting in Pittsburgh. So here we are. The 2025 NFL Draft has come and gone, and yet the biggest question in Pittsburgh still hasn't been answered. Where is Aaron Rodgers going to play? And more importantly, will he suit up in black and gold? As of today, no deal has been officially signed, but according to ESPN's Dan Graziano, the Steelers are still optimistic that Rodgers will join the team. Conversations between Rodgers and the front office have reportedly continued well beyond their in-person free agency meeting, which tells you there's real interest on both sides. Now, Rodgers has made it clear that he's dealing with personal matters and is not rushing any football decisions. But behind the scenes, the signs are pointing toward Pittsburgh. Let's talk about what Aaron Rodgers could bring to the table. First off, this isn't just a Hall of Fame QB. This is a guy reportedly willing to take a one-year deal for as little as $10 million. That's practically unheard of for a quarterback of his caliber. The Steelers know what's at stake here. Rodgers would be the clear starter on day one, and with DK Metcalf now locked in for the long haul, the potential for instant chemistry is real, especially since Metcalf and Rodgers have already been seen working out together this offseason. Give Rodgers a big-bodied WR1, a solid O-line, and a hard-nosed defense behind him. That's a recipe for serious AFC North contention. Now let's be honest. While we all wait for Rodgers' final decision, the current quarterback room is, well, less than inspiring. Mason Rudolph is back after a one-year hiatus, and the front office really believes he can handle the job if necessary. He did, after all, lead the team into the postseason in 2023 after Pickett fizzled out. Then there's Skylar Thompson, a guy with some mobility but limited upside, and Will Howard, a sixth-round rookie with tools, but who's clearly a developmental project. All signs point to the Steelers bringing 4 QBs into training camp. So another addition is likely coming. And if it's not Rodgers, well, there's still Kirk Cousins floating out there, though he would cost a lot more both financially and via trade compensation, and here's where things get spicy. During ESPN's 2025 schedule release show, former NFL quarterback Dan Orlovsky did not hold back on the Steelers' situation. In fact, he made a pretty bold and brutal prediction. "I think you're staring at 0-6 with Mason Rudolph," Orlovsky said. "This is an offense that is only DK Metcalf right now on the perimeter." Whoa. Let's hit pause on that. Is that fair? Well, it is true that the Steelers lack proven depth at wide receiver following the George Pickens trade, and outside of Metcalf, it's a lot of question marks. But going winless through 6 games? That's bold, especially considering who the Steelers face early. Let's look at the actual opponents for those first 6 weeks. Week 1, Aris New York Jets with Justin Fields, 2. Week 2 versus Seattle Seahawks, 3. Week 3, Ara New England Patriots, new QB, new system. Week 4 versus Minnesota Vikings in Ireland, 5. Week 5, bye 6. Week 6 versus Cleveland Browns, 7. Week 7 Cincinnati Bengals, Thursday Night Football. Now, out of those 6, only one team made the playoffs last year, the Vikings. So Orlovsky's 0-6 prediction might be a little over the top. Still, Louis Riddick backed him up, saying, "Every one of those teams has a quarterback situation you would take over Pittsburgh's. It's harsh. But it's also the national perception right now that without Rodgers, the Steelers are stuck in limbo at the most important position on the field. And let's not forget, the Steelers had a shot at drafting a potential franchise QB in Gay. April at pick number 21, Shedeur Sanders was still on the board, and there was real debate inside the building about selecting him. But the front office passed, choosing instead to wait and eventually take Will Howard later. Why? Because owner Art Rooney II reportedly knows Aaron Rodgers wants to play in Pittsburgh. That's a big statement. And if true, it's no wonder. The Steelers didn't go all in on a young QB yet. The idea is simple. Bring in Rodgers for a one-year bridge, then draft your long-term franchise guy in 2026. So here's where we're at. Steelers Nation. The team believes in Mason Rudolph more than outsiders do. The rest of the NFL world thinks we're in for a rough start without a proven QB. And behind the scenes, Aaron Rodgers is still circling. Let's not forget, Rodgers would open the season against the New York Jets, his former team. And guess what? Week 8 is a primetime game in Green Bay. Another perfect revenge game if he signs. You can't script it better than that. So let's get straight to the news that's shaking up conversations all over Steelers Nation. According to respected Steelers insider Jerry Dulac, head coach Mike Tomlin has full control over roster decisions. That's right. Not GM Omar Khan, not President Art Rooney II. It's Tomlin who's been calling the shots on who stays, who goes, and who gets drafted or traded. Now that doesn't mean he's operating without checks. Rooney still has the final say if he chooses to use it, but Dulac made it clear in his latest chat. Tomlin was 100% behind the George Pickens trade. That move, which sent the wide receiver to the Dallas Cowboys for a 2026 third-round pick, was not forced on him. In fact, Dulac said point blank, no, he was behind it and all in on it. He's the coach. He makes the roster decisions. Rooney can intervene if he so chooses, but you got that answer. That's a huge reveal, folks. It's one thing for a coach to have influence. It's another for him to basically run the roster. In most NFL front offices, especially ones with a talented GM like Khan and a respected exec like Andy Weidel, you'd expect decisions to be more collaborative. But this news shows us that Tomlin's word has serious weight inside the Steelers building. So what does this mean for where the Steelers are headed in 2025 and beyond? Well, on one hand, you have to admire the consistency. Tomlin has been one of the most respected and successful head coaches in the NFL over the past 2 decades. He's never had a losing season. He's been a master of keeping the locker room together, even during chaos, and his voice clearly commands respect in the building. But at the same time, let's be real. There's been a bit of a disconnect between the win now messaging coming from the front office and the actual moves being made. Let's just look at the facts. They traded away George Pickens, arguably the most explosive weapon on offense, for a future draft pick. They didn't land a top-tier quarterback in the 2025 draft. Reports say they're positioning themselves to go all in on a franchise QB in 2026. So how does that square with win-now mode? It doesn't really add up. Unless you view these moves as Mike Tomlin shaping his version of a sustainable, disciplined team. A team that doesn't tolerate diva behavior, even from talented players. Let's take a closer look at the George Pickens situation. Because no matter who you asked, fans, former players, media, everyone had an opinion. Pickens had the talent. No doubt. He made highlight catches and gave the offense a spark when it desperately needed one. But let's not sugarcoat it. His attitude was a constant question mark. From sideline outbursts to inconsistent effort, Pickens often brought as much drama as production, and now post-trade things are getting spicier. Even Ben Roethlisberger recently called out Pickens for what appeared to be a subtle shot at Mike Tomlin during his introductory press conference in Dallas. So what does that tell you? Nothing changed. Pickens is who he's always been. And while some coaches might put up with it for the sake of raw talent, Tomlin clearly decided it wasn't worth the headache. It's fair to wonder, did Tomlin give Pickens too many chances? Did he coddle him in hopes of turning things around? Possibly. But in the end, Tomlin made the call to cut ties, and that shows he's willing to hold anyone accountable, no matter their upside. Now here's another interesting wrinkle. The Steelers have developed a reputation for drafting players who have strong personalities or come with some baggage. Think about guys like Chase Claypool, Martavis Bryant, and now George Pickens. These are high-ceiling players, but also high risk in terms of locker room culture. And that raises a bigger question. How much influence does Tomlin have on the draft itself? While Dulac didn't spell it out completely, he hinted that Tomlin might be heavily involved in not just roster decisions, but draft choices as well, especially when it comes to guys with character concerns. After all, Tomlin's the one who would be coaching them, mentoring them, and managing their egos on a daily basis. So if the pattern continues, high talent, high drama receivers getting drafted, then traded, that's a sign that maybe the strategy needs adjusting. At the end of the day, no matter who holds the most power, Tomlin, Khan, or Rooney, results are what matter. Tomlin may have the control, but he also has the responsibility. If the team hits on a 2026 quarterback and makes a run, he'll be praised for the vision. But if the team struggles in 2025 with Mason Rudolph or an untested rookie, fans won't be pointing fingers at the GM. They'll be pointing them at Tomlin. And that's fair, because when you have control, you have accountability. So now it's your turn, Steelers fans. Do you think the Steelers should keep waiting for Aaron Rodgers? Are you confident in Mason Rudolph if he's QB1 to start the season? And what would you say to the national media who are already counting us out? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one, and you guys are what make this community so strong. And don't forget, if you love talking Steelers football, especially during this wild offseason, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a breaking update. The black and gold journey continues, and it's shaping up to be one of the most dramatic seasons we've seen in years. Until next time, this is your Steelers News HQ, signing off.